My name is Kay Wilson. I serve as the Executive Director of LeaderSpark. LeaderSpark is a nonprofit organization that's been around since 1987, working with young people on leadership and workforce development skills.
And as you shared with us, the Spark.
The Spark in the name is because when working with young people, they found out that once young people find their spark, so that could be maybe they like to play sports or maybe they like to do art. Once they find that spark, everything else seems to rise up with it, and so that's where the name came from.
Wonderful. Let's hear a member of the audience tell us what sparked them.
Hi, my name is Heath, and I'm an artist at ArtQuest. And what sparked me is seeing how you pick one color and you blend it with another color, and blend with another color, and blend with another color, and you just make like a little abstract of different colors, blended together.
Beautiful.
This is like how it's mixed together.
Oh, great. Well, as each of you tells us who you are, then we'll move to what you have created. So Solomon, Garner, program coordinator. And then just nice and loud, because the microphone's not doing as much work, Todd, as we would love for it to do. Aha! Todd, Cam, just came in. He's our administrative assistant, and he is wonderful to get all the visuals going for me. I'm so grateful. And the attachment for the Mac, right, Solomon? So let us hear about it.
So my name is Solomon Garner. I am the program manager for LeaderSpark. So as well, I'm also a student at The Ohio State University studying community leadership. And so
Athletic community leadership.
No, just community leadership.
Community leadership.
Yes.
And that's how you came to be part of?
Yes, so I always had a passion for helping people, and that was my goal, was to basically, I actually had the dream of starting my own nonprofit, but my mentor was telling me, he was like, you know, kind of think outside of the box because there's many nonprofits around, and he was like, I would even suggest possibly working for one. And then, you know, things worked itself out, and then I met Kay Wilson, and then I got the wonderful opportunity to start with LeaderSpark, and it just so happens that they work with youth 1424, and that was my passion, to work with youth. I always wanted to give back to the community. I grew up in the Hilltop area of Columbus, the West Side, and so I was like, I have to do something to basically give back to my community, my people, the people who look just like me and who are similar to me in experiences and situations. So,
Solomon, who inspired you in your lifetime to be inspired?
That's a good question. Honestly, my inspiration has always been Muhammad Ali. As cliche as that may sound, but his fight for the people is what really inspired me. He never let his fame or his fortune, you know, get in the way of that. He was always about the people and for the people, and he fought for the people, like physically, and in activism as well. And so I've always looked at him, you know, as my inspiration to hopefully, you know, kind of follow in the same footsteps to be able to make change for people as well.
Wow. You know, I'm taking students to Chicago around a theme called Fierce Conversations. How is it that we move with our energy to something then that happens? And how is it that you are so fierce, but you had an inspiration, huh, that truly was fierce? And then also your name is Solomon, the wise one, huh?
Yeah.
And next to you, nice and loud, name, why you're inspired, what you come from. You're in high school right now, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now talking to everybody.
Okay. How you doing? My name is Levi Harrison.
I hate microphones. Can you guys all hear me?
No, come on. We gotta get used to it in terms of leadership.
I've always had a problem with I don't know, microphones are just weird. I can just project my voice. Yeah, my name is Levi Hairston. I'm a senior in high school. I go to Columbus Alternative High School and Columbus State Community College. I live in the Near East Side, Old Town East area. I grew up in Columbus. Actually, I grew up on the west, well, no, not really. Yeah, kind of on the west side, over on Morrison Avenue out west. But then I was too young to remember that, so I really say I grew up out east, Courtright, Petzinger, the refugee area. And at an early age, I was never really like the artistic type, I would say. I mean, everyone has their own little artistic abilities, however they do that. But I did find a love in playing drums and guitar, so I did that all throughout middle school. And like when I got to high school, I stopped. And that's really when I made my transition to like what I want to do for like school, which I figured out was engineering. And then I like figured out I like food, so agriculture engineering is where I'm kind of headed right now. So yeah.
Wonderful. And you were, that's beautiful collage.
Yeah, it's all spread out.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
beautiful. And you're inspired by the method of this art, this painting.
Yes, ma'am.
Uh-huh.
So before I was in LeaderSpark, right before I joined LeaderSpark, I had an internship with council member Shannon Harden. And that was just during the school year. Our school college makes you do an internship your junior, senior year. So right before I joined, I was with Shannon. And the beautifulest thing is, as a council member, as a politician, as someone that like delegates for the people, you really get to see the struggles of people and try and, you know, counteract the struggles by making laws and passing bills and things to help the people. And so when I joined LeaderSpark, they kind of helped me flourish myself. I already came into LeaderSpark thinking, oh, I'm a great public speaker and this and that and this and that. But then I think that they helped develop me into like a more refined speaker, presenter, things like that. And then when we had this project presented to us, I thought it was a perfect opportunity to, you know, sometimes you can't find the words to describe things. People connect with things differently. You know, you might be a visual learner, an auditory learner, but sometimes, you know, when you see something, you just connect on another level. You say, hey, oh, I understand the message, but like I see another thing. So when we were presented with this, I think it was an excellent opportunity for us to like, you know, have the words up there, but also have the picture to go with it, and you know, have another message apart from just what it says.
Yes, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. And let's see, we have Renaya. Is that how I say it?
Yes.
And Naya Pryor. Now, will you use the microphone?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
Hello, everybody. My name is Renaya Pryor. I'm a sophomore at South High School. I grew up in Canton, Ohio. It's not really that good of a place to be, but that's where I grew up. When I was younger, I was really, at a young age, I was taught, like, no, work for it, do this, you gotta push and push and push, but I ain't see nobody around me pushing. But they kept on telling me to push and be better, but I didn't see no positive people around me. It was always negative people. People always was down in my family. Like, everybody was just down and negative, and I just wanted to be better than them. Like, not trying to say like better than them, but just show my family, my younger family, that we don't have to be like our parents. We can be better than them. We can push and push and push. And I was 14, 13, I'm 15 now, but 13, 14, I was, you know, dabbling in the little bad activities and stuff. And then I came to realize, like, this is not me. This is not what I want to be. This is not going to help me in my future. So I moved to Columbus with my mom, and she told me about LeaderSpark. So I'm like, oh, okay, that sounds good. I started it, and like instantly I went, and I was quiet, but like I opened up to everybody, and it was just like like, oh, this is nice. And LeaderSparks really helped me look at the world differently, like, because I never thought people could think the same way I think, but it's a whole lot of people in LeaderSparks, the whole program, it's a whole lot of people, we think the same, and we just want to help everybody.
Oh, wonderful. And when you say everybody, you were saying, Kay, this was intergenerational 30 years ago, this whole LeaderSpark. So we're all in this together with your leadership as the spark of the art in the Old Town East. And Julie, you came from the University of Cincinnati and shared your design along with Patrick Torres, huh?
Yeah.
Julie Martin and Patrick Torres. Tell us as a team how you came to Kay. Solomon?
Sure. So my name is Julie Martin. I'm an architectural designer here in downtown Columbus. And I came from Cincinnati where when in high school, actually, I worked for a company called Artworks Cincinnati. And they take high school students, pair them with local artists, and create murals. They've expanded to other projects now, but they create large-scale murals all over the city. So when I came to Columbus, I kind of took that interest and passion with me. And in the last year or so, I was kind of talking to friends and connections and saying, how can we get this started in Columbus? And do you know of a space, or do you have a spot or an opportunity? I'm interested in doing a project like this. Just as someone who's interested in public art and developing our artistic community here in Columbus, as well as helping people and making something that's memorable and meaningful. And I got connected through a friend to Kay and LeaderSpark, and we just collaborated on the project. Yeah, so.
Okay, yeah, sure. So my name is Patrick Torres. I'm an artist and designer here in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm originally from rural southern Ohio, where there isn't a lot of art or interest in anything creative, to be honest. But my dad is a general contractor. When I was growing up, he ran his own construction service, and he told me that if a man with tools and a truck can always make money. So I bought a computer and an El Camino, which is probably the least practical type of truck and tool out there at the time. But honestly, I worked for him for a long time, painting commercial spaces and doing residential construction work and stuff like that. And then eventually I got interested in graphic design and art. That really came from my grandparents, who are artists and musicians and writers, and among other things. And after going through school and working on graphic design projects with my company and with other studios and in-house, I wanted to figure out a way to put those things together, because I really love working with my hands. But as a digital graphic designer, you're sort of that's sort of removed from the equation, right? Working on a computer all day isn't the same as painting or working with your hands. And I've always wanted to get back to that somehow, and doing mural work or taking graphic design and combining that with my trade as a commercial artist or a commercial painter, sort of culminated with a mural project. And Julie was trying to put together this mural project through creative mornings, and this sort of morphed into the LeaderSpark opportunity. And it was our first project together, and everything went wrong all of the time. But it was amazing to get through that experience and figure out what to do, what not to do, where to correct the mistakes, working with the people, and figuring it out sort of as we went along. Because every wall's a little bit different. It's not just like we had no clue what we were doing, because obviously both of us had experience, but every wall produces unique challenges for sure.
Great, and CCAD?
Yeah. I graduated from CCAD in 2015, advertising graphic design major.
Okay, well, now how would you like to talk together with us? Without for any questions from what you presented from our gathering here. And then how are we going to present the audiovisual? How shall we do this? Solomon, do you have a word on this?
flip through yours, or photos too, it doesn't matter.
Okay. And then, any questions before we present these amazing images?
What kind of paper do they use when you drawing?
Originally, it was just like Canson sketchbook paper.
Okay.
And then we moved into, so we sketched all the ideas out in sketchbooks or just on loose leaf paper. I'm kind of just, I love drawing on paper, so I'll draw on whatever I can. This is so funny, like a lot of my ideas start on leftover envelopes that I get in the mail. And they just sort of pile up on my kitchen table and I take them and I sketch all over them.
Anybody identify with that? That's not great.
There's something that's like odd to me about the formality of like, here's art paper. You know what I mean? I have to, like, the pressure is so great because it's expensive and I have to like take care of it, but if it's just junk mail, it can be whatever. So I kind of start there, and then we moved into, after we figured it out, like what we wanted the composition to be, what we wanted to say, we moved on to digital comps.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Can we take to this a reflection you had, Kay, about why you chose green, or do you want to give this to anybody else? How would you said now, be sure they speak for themselves here.
Oh, he's throwing this into it? Okay.
Yeah.
So, before you guys see the picture, you guys can't really see.
Yeah, you guys can't really see the picture yet, but when we were coming into this, we had this like conference call where we were like we had a brainstorming session with the rest of our youth advisory council. There's a number of us, and we all had a brainstorming session during one of our meetings, and we were just so we were showing some pictures, we were all throwing out ideas, and we really wanted to. When we were thinking about it at first, we were like, we want something that doesn't just represent like one person, and it wants to represent everybody equally, but then you can all get a different message from it individually. So we wanted to make it a group and individual at the same time. So that's what we were doing in our first little meeting. Then we had a conference call where we were all brainstorming, and then that's when we really came down to like rooted ideas. And I think that Miss K's input about color scheme, and then excuse me, our own input about design all culminated into what it is. So when you see it, there's a lot of green, there's a lot of green and like leafage, and I think that like my mom, it's really weird. My mom is she has a lot of plants, and you know how like you walk past a plant and you're like, it like livens up the room, like you like to go out and buy flowers. I think like I don't think we were like thinking this, but after it was done, you go by it like when you're driving down the street, you like walk past it, and it's like it livens up just because the colors, they all go together, like complementary colors, I think that's what it's called, yeah. And it look nice, and it's colorful, and it just catches the eye, but it also, gives you time to reflect on like, in a place, there's plenty of green in Old Town East, but it's like a refresh, like a new thing, is all I'm gonna say.
I love it. It's beautiful. And did you create? They tried to bury us, but they didn't know we were seeds.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking about it. Y'all want some?
So that's actually a quote by, I'm going to say his name wrong because it's Greek, literally, to me. But his name was Dinos Christopoulos, I think, and he was a Greek poet. And I don't mean Greek poet like in like 10 BC, like the Greek poet in like the 70s. And so he's like credited with the quote, and it's actually incorrectly credited a lot as being a Mexican proverb, but we kind of felt like it had like a proverb feel, where it didn't speak to like any specific thing or event or person, but was just kind of like a general sentiment that I think a lot of people could relate to. And that's something that we actually talked about in the conference call when we were brainstorming ideas and imagery for the mural. Kay and Solomon told us that was a quote that spoke to them, and we kind of like latched onto it like, oh, that's a good message. Like, we really like that idea. So we kind of took that and ran with it. So, yeah.
Oh, even though this is a piece of public art, I think the way that Julie and I, the only way that we knew how to approach it was as designers, because that's how we're trained, it's how we think about solving creative problems, right? So, you know, we have to, at the onset of the project, of any project, we have to sort of box things in a little bit and say, okay, what are the challenges that we're trying to solve here? So, that's why it's so important to sit down and have a meeting with the people that are involved, members of the community, and understand the risks that are sort of surrounding the project, right? So, not risks in like this, like, you know, like this criminal way or something like that, but just like risks to the creative integrity of the project, right? So, we say, you know, Kay and Solomon, tell us about what you're trying to do here, and how can we solve this problem for you? Because, I mean, out of all the things that there are in the world to put on the side of a building, you have to start making decisions at some point, right? And what do you want to accomplish? So there were some really strict guidelines at first that seem very constricting, but I'm of the philosophy that constraints inspire creativity, right? So like if you give me this piece of paper, then I'm going to show you what I can do with just that little tablet, which is where, you know, kind of comes back to the envelope thing, right? It's not formal, but there is a limitation there. So they said, first of all, it has to be green and yellow. The reason why is because we want to inspire or invoke the idea of life and growth. There is green in Old Town East for sure, but there's no like, you know, it's not like downtown where you have all these flowers everywhere and like this really well curated or like cared for topiary park or something. It just doesn't look like that over there, right? So, you know, we're sort of taking notes of these things as, you know, things that we need to build into the design. It also needs to be bold enough that when people are driving by, because they observably drive by very fast for whatever reason, it's easy to speed through that area. So we need something that's eye-catching. It really only needs to be one or two colors. It needs to be easy to read on the fly, and it needs to be inspiring. So get to work, right? You know,
Are we going to see this now? Is this how, Solomon, are you going to present these images? Does Todd, why do you talk? Yep.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
And we'll just turn the light. Could you turn the lights out?
It doesn't matter if you want to, or I can talk. You can talk. If it's easier for you, you can talk. Okay. All right. So this is the finished mural here. And there really are quite a few influences visually coming into this thing, as well as like, you know, trying to solve the design problem of we want something that's inspiring, that speaks to our goals as an organization and what we're trying to do as a community, right? So when we discovered this quote, it stuck out. The length was perfect for the side of this building, and that's a 14-foot tall wall by 50 feet wide. That's an extremely odd format. I just want to say it kind of looks like an envelope, right?
It does.
Right. So I love that format because it's such an odd format. It's an interesting challenge. It makes me eager and want to fill that space, right? Just like as a creative person.
Where is this located? Location?
1336 East Main Street.
1336 East Main Street on the hub.
You want to say that in the microphone?
The mural is located on 1336 East Main Street at the hub, on the side of the hub. So if you're going up East Main Street, the hub will be on your left-hand side, and then right on, as you're passing the building, right there on the left-hand side of the alley, that's where you'll see this. So there's the hub right here, and then right across from that is a funeral home. So once you see the funeral home, turn to your left and you'll see the mural.
Right next to a funeral home.
So as we're designing this thing and trying to come up with ideas and brainstorm, you know, we're trying to figure out visuals that go along with this quote that are appropriate, right? So we look at this thing, we say, okay, well, what could this be? We could show the idea of growth, or we could illustrate, and we arrived at this pretty early on, I think, which we were lucky. We could illustrate that, you know, things can grow and flourish when given the opportunity. So they tried to bury us, but they didn't know we were seeds. The plants sort of represent the result of that growth and facilitation after the seeds have been planted, right? So it's sort of the next step after the statement. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah. So I don't even know, what do we, how many gallons of paint did we go through? Something like 20, some huge amount of paint. The weather was all over the place. We started the mural in early October. I think we started painting the first going into the second week of October. So some days we were out there in t-shirts, and there's no shade there either, so we got a little burnt. Let's see, I lost my place. Yeah, and the weather was kind of all over the place, and the other nights we'd be out there in coats.
So you can see here we have a lot of members from LeaderSpark and from the community that came out to help us paint. So another challenge of our mural was we all wanted it to be something where everyone could participate. It wasn't like LeaderSpark gave us what their vision was and then we just painted the mural because we paint murals. Like, we wanted everyone to be able to come out and participate. So the way we did that was we made the entire mural essentially like a paint by number. So it's all very graphic. There's not a lot of like complex shading or something that you would have to have like, you know, years and years of skill to do. We kind of like set the course, and then everyone was able to come, take a cup with the color number 5, and you paint color number 5. So you're able to participate and kind of put your effort into something that the whole community gets to enjoy. So we gridded the wall using chalk lines and a level, and then we took our artwork and sketched it out and then labeled everything, and then the community came and we all painted together. So this was the first day, or maybe like the second or third day that we were painting. Yeah.
Did you have a Kickstarter, or how was this funded? Did people just donate the paint? Want to repeat that question?
It was funded through a grant from Neighborhood Partnership Grants through United Way, their partnership with, I think it's PNC, but that's how we got the funding to do the painting.
And did somebody have a wall in mind already?
Well, this is actually where our office is located. So I kind of just contacted the building manager and said, hey, we have an idea. And once he saw the sketch and the drawing, he was all for it.
Oh, he must have thought that was awesome. Let's build it.
That guy looks familiar.
We also had some help from like basically the local art and design community as well. Once Patrick and I were talking to our friends about the project that we were trying to work on, I know Compton Construction, local construction company, helped us out and let us like basically use a lift in order to reach the top of the wall. And then we had friends and neighbors and connections and just random people say, oh, do you need a ladder? Here's a ladder. Do you need a light? Here's a light. Do you have a level? Here's a level. So it was really like a lot of blessings all around where people were willing to just lend things and be a part of it also kind of from afar. So we had a lot of interest and help along the way. It was good.
There were probably, I don't know, at the very most, probably 30, 35 people that had their hands on this mural at some point or another. I know that a lot of the photos are of that first and second day that we were out there painting, or it was just Julie and I on the wall or whatever, but there were so many people that really came to help on this project in so many different ways, whether that was lending equipment or supplying some money or coming out to paint for just an hour. Like, that really does help so much, right? So every hour that somebody is out there painting, that's an hour that I don't have to be there, right? And there were a lot of nights where we would work until we just couldn't see, and then our eyes would adjust, and then we could see again and start painting, you know. And the building owner, Eugene, was so, he's a firecracker. And he eventually kind of warmed up to us, I think, and brought us a couple of lights, so floodlights we could use at night, and some extension cords and things, which was great. So we could really keep that thing going, because I think we had a total of 3 weeks to paint that thing. And
your method, in terms terms of the numbers, relating the color to the numbers, tell us more about how that happened.
Yeah, so actually I'm glad that you brought that up because I forgot all about that part of it. Yeah, so when we designed this thing originally, we had to stick to a few key colors, but in order to get to introduce contrast and variety, visual variety in the piece, we had to play with a couple of different hues of greens and yellows, and mix those things together in ways that could separate the different planes of the piece, right? So as we're designing the thing, you basically start with 5 or 6 colors to keep it simple, because anything more than that is really quite complicated, and it's hard to manage all of that. So we had 6 colors total, 7 colors, 7 colors total, including the background color, which we dubbed Diet Mint. It just feels like a diet.
If I
mint.
wanted to come and help me out,
Yeah.
then I would choose, you would mentor me as to the color, and
Yeah, so like Julie mentioned, we had drawn on the wall with lumber crayons, right? Like what they draw on, like numbers on lumber with. And we would just annotate what number, and we had, because Julie works at an architectural office, she can print off large copies of the plan. So we gridded out the whole thing and then annotated on the plan, drew it, translated it to the wall, and then marked on the wall, just like a paint by numbers coloring book. And then we would pour out the paint and then label the cups, and then give somebody like a 5 to 10 minute tutorial on, this is how you pull a clean line with a paintbrush. Don't worry about it being super perfect, because we can always do touch-ups, right? And it was just that on a 20-person scale.
way to include.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I'll say that first day, there were so many people that came out. It was so fun. It felt like more like a gathering than like work, There was music and drinks and, like beverages, not like drinks. And then Kay got pizza for everybody. It was a good time.
So I just pulled up some progress photos that we took. Sorry, those are kind of amateur, and I don't have full screen. But so these are just a couple progress photos. This was the wall originally, so this is just what you saw when you drove down Main Street. And one of the challenges that we had when we first started was the wall had a lot of stucco on the exterior that was really old and flaking away. So obviously if you're going to paint over stucco that's all flaking off, your mural's just going to like flake right off with all the stucco. So the first thing that we did was go in and just pull off and scrape and scrub as much off of the concrete underneath as we could. So before we put the base layer down, it was a pretty ugly, kind of scary sight. We were like, what have we done? And then you can see on the next one, we went to Lowe's and got from the big paint selector the colors that were closest to the hues that we were going to use. And then we put those kind of in the computer, and then we matched them to make sure we were coloring the right ones. And then we went on a big shopping spree, and we got a lot of paint from Lowe's. So this is the base color, and this is from the image where Patrick was spraying. So he used a sprayer to spray on the base coat here. And I love that you told me some guy walked by and was like, I like that color, man. I like that color. We're gridding it out here, so we printed off the original design, made a grid, drew it up on the wall using crayons, and then labeled the color, and we all painted together.
And I'll just note, like from the neighborhood, when Julie and Patrick were out there and they could be on ladders and stuff, and it was just so refreshing to see people who Solomon and I have the opportunity to see every day, and they'll walk by you, they don't speak, they don't say anything, but people were blowing their horns and they were screaming out the window, and it just seemed really to just do something to the neighborhood, so that was really great.
I love what you were saying about color. You chose green for the peacefulness of it.
It was the peacefulness, and to Patrick's point, like originally, I hated to be like a killjoy, because I knew they were super excited and we were super blessed to have them working with us to do this mural. But previously on the wall, before they did some of the scraping, you couldn't see, so we had tags on the side of the wall. So if you don't know what tags are, like different gangs will go by and do graffiti or tags on the wall. And so that wall had probably in that year been tagged about 6 or 7 times. Every time we painted over it, it would be re-tagged. And so because where the neighborhood is, and there has been gang activity between the Crips and the Bloods, and which is red and blue, we wanted to make sure to kind of be neutral, as well as bring some vibrancy into the colors. So that was another factor that we were thinking about, because the last thing we wanted is to have them working with us, and we have this great mural up there, and because of a color, somebody come and tag it. So we wanted to make sure that we had something that was neutral, so it would be less likely to be tagged.
How smart of you. Wow.
Now, where's this at? Where's it located?
This is over on East Main Street. What's the address?
At 1336 East Main Street at the Hub.
I'm also super sorry that you have to see my underwear in most of these pictures.
Are you going to create more like this?
I'd love to. So if you know anybody, let them know.
I think it's interesting the opinion or the sentiment about the mural now that it's been painted. I think in Columbus, like, we don't have a lot of murals. Like I said, I came from Cincinnati where we have artworks, and the last time I checked their website, with high school students working with professional artists in the city of Cincinnati, they have over 132 large-scale, larger than this, murals all over the city. So for them, it's very much just kind of like part of their fabric of their city. In Columbus, we don't have that as much. I think people are a little bit. I think just because it doesn't exist, it's an unknown. People are like, oh, you want to do a mural, but what do you want to put up there? And now I have to live with what you're going to put up there. And what if I don't like it? And what if, So I think we have kind of a weird nervousness in Columbus in regard to murals and public art. But as soon as we were painting this, and now that it's done, and maybe it's just me because I worked on it, and everyone's like, this is so great, good job. Like, they're not going to come up and say they hate it, but overall, everyone has been really excited to see a mural project, and everyone asks, is there going to be another one? When's the next one? So it's funny how, once it kind of becomes more of a familiar thing, I think people start to kind of rally behind it. So I think we're definitely hopeful that people see it and they get inspired and think, hey, I know a good wall, or like, you almost start walking around with like mural eyes, like, oh, that would be a good wall, or look at that wall, it's all blank, like, what could we do? So, just overall in general, I'm hoping that people start to have that vision for more public art in our city, so.
No more tags?
No more tags.
Anybody else?
Or good tags.
Have a question?
Do you feel that any of the community people that came out and helped you with that was an introduction to art for them, or is there any follow-up with them to help their appreciation of art grow? Or
when we were doing this, okay, so I did a summer program. I did a program over the summer called Columbus, Ohio Leadership Academy, and it was a leadership program. But what they really advocated for was us to branch out and to do things that, were leadership based. And so when the project came up, I was like, hey guys, fellow alumni, this is this big project, and it'd be great if you guys could come out and help. And so after they had helped paint and stuff like that, there was an email sent out by the coordinator of the summer program, and they were like, it was a very nice time. And then I ended up talking to some of the people who helped, and they're like, I got an idea for this. And actually, one of the young ladies goes to Kaz, and we have this, when you come down the steps in one of our hallways, it's this really old picture from like when my mom went to cause, which was, yeah. Yeah, I love you, Mom, if you're seeing this. Yeah, it was there. I know it was there when she was there. And it's old and it's flinking off. And I know for a fact that they have been working to get that wall repainted with something like updated. Cause is very forward in what we try and do. We try to induct everybody, but still be like a family and still let people be individuals. So we've been reworking. They have been reworking that wall. I think it's actually done now. And the only reason they did it is because they came and helped out with this one. So thank you. And it definitely led to some other people wanting to do independent projects. So it definitely had a positive impact on people.
Yes, Joe?
Hi, my name is Joe Nakamura, and I like murals and street arts. And I have taken many of them in Columbus into photography.
You want to take the microphone because you're talking about creating murals?
No, not creating.
You are taking photos of them.
Again, my name is Joe Nakamura, and one of my art activities is to take photographs of murals and street arts. And actually, I published, 2 books already, featuring
What? What was it?
2 books.
2 books?
2 books, and one more book is coming on murals and street arts in Columbus. And the third one is just coming out. I received a proof copy, but unfortunately, the inside came out only in black and white by my own mistake. So I have to correct it. But the third one is about murals and street arts in Franklinton, in Columbus, just across the river. And I didn't know the mural work of yours until I hear your talks today. So maybe I should focus, my attention to that and other murals on the east side.
That's actually an interesting point. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Okay, when you got this done, did you do something to preserve it, like some special coating so it's gonna last? Like weather conditions and
Sure.
oxidation and stuff?
So far we haven't yet. So at this point, we did ensure that we bought like quality paint, so it's like highly dense like pigment exterior paint. And I would say that whole wall probably has about 5 layers of paint on it. So at this point, it's a really good application of some high quality paint. So we don't have like a sealant. Sometimes there's issues with sealant where they can trap moisture and actually cause the mural to like bubble because the moisture's trying to come out, and it'll actually cause it to crack. And some sealants can actually turn yellow with age. So at this point, we haven't applied a sealant, but yeah.
I see, because there are some polyurethane coatings protecting
Yes.
things.
It's exterior latex, so it kind of, thank you. It sort of has the rubber built into it, so it's going to help the building just by being there.
I have a question for the 2 students.
Okay, you want to take the microphone there?
It's muted. Oh.
There's a little button on there.
Can you hear me? Yes. First of all, it's awesome that you're here and that you're involved in a leadership program. It takes a lot of guts and a lot of peer pressure usually, and I was going to ask you a little bit about that in regard to getting involved with something that would be inspiring to other people. Sometimes other kids don't always think the same way, and have you felt any, I'm sure you've gained so much from it personally, have you had any bad situations that it's been difficult to stay with the program? I mean, I going back to way back when I was in school, it was always tough. If you were in a leadership role, people were making fun sometimes, and that's why I'm saying you guys are awesome to be able to do what you're doing and be an example for other people.
To your question, I really haven't had like anybody make fun of me or anything like that. Actually, people really be asking me like, can you give me in that program and how can I do this? I be trying to tell people like, get in the program, it's good for you, it's good for you. I be giving them papers and everything like that, but they don't be really serious about it. But I mean, yeah. Well, I had one friend, she joined and she liked it. But I don't think so. Like, I didn't really have nobody, oh, you did this, oh, kiki. No, I don't really get along with people like that. If you're negative, no, because no, I don't want to be around you.
To your question, I go to college in Columbus State. My school is very active in the community. We have a lot of students all throughout grade levels that do a lot of things for the community. I know last year sometime we had a rally downtown. With these a group of young ladies have a program for other young ladies, 5th through 7th grade. A lot of different people in my school do a lot of different things in the community. So I think that's just a part of the culture to do things that promote things for other people in school and out of school. So when I came into LeaderSpark, this is so crazy. I do so much, and it's a tiring thing. I go to 2 schools. I'm in 2 different, I'm in the Franklin County Youth Council. I'm in LeaderSpark. I do programs through the school year, and sometimes you get that thing of, okay, I'm juggling too much. But I think that I always come back to needing a little bit of stability, and I find that stability with LeaderSpark. They're always there to help you be the best you. And then we have I have people that I would never have the opportunity to meet because of the school I go to. In the program, you go to South, we have kids from Pickerington, we have kids from all over the place, and I think that's a nice opportunity to be able to come to a central place where normally I wouldn't meet these people, but we're coming together for a common cause of, doing something constructive. So to negative feedback, you don't really get it. Sometimes you get it why are you doing it? And then I'm like, why not? If you're, yeah. Oh yeah, here, I'll pass.
So I just want to add something real quick just because of where we are. So if you go out this building and you look to your left, you'll see the Franklin County Juvenile Facility where you have young people who are detained. And we actually teach there every Tuesday. And I say that because those young people are the ones sometimes who get ridiculed because they're trying to do better, but they don't always get the opportunity. And I say that also because of the proximity. Sometimes these young people, as you said, are very courageous. There are young people who sit in that facility who are forgotten about, whose parents don't come and visit them, who don't get letters. But for the grace of God, they are normal kids who have had bad circumstances and bad situations. And a lot of times people forget about them, and we still go in and we still try to teach them. And had they been out, some of them are actually from the neighborhood in which our building is. And I say that because, they don't have the opportunity, sometimes because of security and sometimes just because of innovation, to have artists like Julie, to have artists like Patrick be able to go in and figure out what that spark is, what that creative thing is for them in order to be more hopeful about what's going on around them. And so we've just really been blessed and fortunate that the young people that we work with, they come from all over. And it's just amazing to see that no matter what neighborhood that they come from, you know, they're just young people, right? So we had an overnight retreat the other day, and these aren't kids who are from urban areas, suburban areas, they're from everywhere. And so these kids stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning, right, doing what kids do. And it's nice to have them in a safe environment to watch them be kids, because a lot of times, unlike a lot of us, they don't have the opportunities. You know, when I was young, mom would say, you know, stop making noise in the house, go outside and play. Well, a lot of times these kids can't go outside and play because outside is not safe. And so having projects like this, I can't even say how fortunate Solomon and I have been for Patrick and for Julie, because it really did bring a togetherness. And now when we go to the hub, people say, oh, I saw the amazing painting, when there was nothing really for them to say that they liked about the building or nothing to draw them in. So it's really been a great experience.
Don't you think that creates pride in the person who's working and the young people who's working on that? The pride that actually lifts them higher?
Oh, absolutely. And I think the fact that they're in the paper too is going to create a lot of pride.
Oh yeah, guys, we're in the paper. You should go check it out.
To Kay's point, that's what I was going to say. So, like, I know me personally, you know, I can now say, you know, I ride past something, I can tell somebody I actually did that. So, that makes me feel good, right? Now, imagine being 16, 17 years old, and you've literally just created something that's going to last in the community for, you know, generations to come. So, imagine how that makes them feel. So, come to your point, that creates a lot of pride for them.
I'm pretty sure that they're taking their friends and saying, I did this.
Right, right.
It's more creative when they can say, I did that, and their friends seeing that they did that. That lifts them up a little bit.
Yeah, and that's what I'm fortunate, to Kay's point, that what makes me so thankful that I was even a part of the opportunity, because it's kind of like they got their chance to actually plant seed. So like we plant seed in them by educating them, and then they got their chance to plant seed by actually taking action and creating something that inspires everybody, not just, you know, the old or the young, but literally generations to come and the generation that's here now. And so I think that's one of the greatest things that I'm fortunate about. And to the colors, you know, the green equals life, as Patrick said, you know, they literally have been able to share their story and show the power that they possess, that, you know, they can literally change lives, not just their lives, but the people around them and whatnot. And so I'm extremely, extremely fortunate for everybody up here, because it took all of us to make it happen.
Where'd you get the saying from?
So Julie, she said it was from a Greek poet. You can pronounce that name.
No, I can't.
Dinos Christopoulos, I think. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's a Greek poet. Some people say it's a Mexican proverb, so there's a lot of debate. But, well, first, thank you. That's like so ridiculously nice to hear that you appreciated us so much, and we felt exactly the same way, to be able to participate, get to know all of you guys, and also participate in something that's going to be on a building for years and years and years to come. So that's super awesome. And like I said, when I worked at Artworks, I was in high school. It was a very similar kind of project. You work on a mural project together with working artists. And I came from a cattle farm in southern Indiana. My dad's a machinist, and my mom was a nurse like one day a week, because we had 4 kids and she stayed home. So I was not like on track to become an architectural designer doing illustrations and, you know, whatever. So for me, like working on a project like this is the reason why I became a designer. I kind of always had an artistic flair, and my parents were cool enough to let me work at Artworks and let me take art classes and encourage that. But being able to see a working artist as an example of someone who is an adult and pays their bills and, you know, gets to do fun work and lives in the world, I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And I was like, oh, I can do that. I can do this. And so, yeah, for me, it was kind of like I was in your guys' shoes back then. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. Yeah.
What a great way to